In a normal room, when you make a sound, it echoes back. Not perfectly, not loudly, but enough to remind you that your voice exists. Psychologically, children expect the same thing. Not attention all the time, not constant praise, just acknowledgement, a glance, a response, a signal that says, I see you. But what happens when nothing comes back? No reaction, no acknowledgement, no emotional echo. Something very strange begins to happen. And most people don't realize it. But this experience quietly shapes the person you become, even decades later. Part 1. The silent conclusion. When a child is ignored, they don't assume the parent is busy. They don't assume the parent is tired. They assume something is wrong with them. Because children don't question authority. They question themselves. They start believing things like, maybe what I feel doesn't matter. Maybe I talk too much. Maybe I'm annoying. And eventually, they stop trying. Not because they don't need connection, but because their brain learns something dangerous. Reaching out leads to nothing. So it's safer to stay quiet. Part 2. The brain adapts to emotional absence. Psychologists call this emotional neglect, and it doesn't always look like abuse. There's no shouting, no violence, just absence. And absence is harder to detect, because from the outside, everything looks normal. The child goes to school, gets decent grades, behaves well, but internally, something important never formed, the sense that their emotions matter. Research in developmental psychology shows that children learn emotional awareness through mirroring. When a parent says, "You look upset," "You seem happy," "You look worried," they are teaching the child how to understand themselves. But when this mirroring never happens, the child grows into someone who feels disconnected from their own emotions. They feel something is off, but they can't explain what. Part 3. The personality that emerges. Ignored children often grow into adults who appear strong, independent, low maintenance. They don't ask for help. They don't express needs easily. They don't expect much from others. And people admire this. They say things like, "You're so mature. You're so independent." But independence developed from emotional neglect isn't freedom. It's adaptation. Because they learned early that relying on others leads to disappointment. So they rely only on themselves, even when it hurts. Part 4. The invisible effects in adult life. This childhood experience creates patterns that follow them everywhere. They struggle to open up emotionally. They minimize their own pain. They feel uncomfortable receiving attention. Sometimes, they even push people away when someone gets too close. Not because they don't want connection, but because connection feels unfamiliar. Their nervous system doesn't trust it. It feels temporary, unstable, like it could disappear at any moment. So they protect themselves by staying emotionally distant, even from people who genuinely care about them. Part 5. The most dangerous effect: emotional invisibility. Over time, ignored children learn to ignore themselves. They stop asking themselves important questions like, what do I want? What do I feel? What do I need? Because no one asked them those questions growing up. So they learn those questions don't matter. This creates adults who function normally, but feel invisible internally. Like they exist physically, but not emotionally. And sometimes, they don't even realize why. Part 6. The truth most people never hear. Here's the truth most people never realize. Your brain didn't fail you. It protected you. Becoming quiet was protection. Becoming independent was protection. Expecting less was protection. Your nervous system adapted perfectly to the environment it was given. The problem is, you might still be living by those same rules, even though you don't need them anymore. Part 7. Healing begins with recognition. The moment you understand this, something changes. You stop blaming yourself. You stop calling yourself emotionally distant. You stop believing you're broken, because you were never broken. You were adapting. And adaptation can be unlearned. Slowly, safely, over time. The ignored child inside you didn't disappear. They just learned to stay quiet. And sometimes, the first step toward healing isn't becoming someone new. It's finally listening to the part of you that was never heard. If this felt familiar, it's not random. There's a reason your mind connected with this. And there's a lot more about human psychology most people never learn. Subscribe if you want to understand yourself on a deeper level. Because sometimes understanding yourself is where everything begins.